station, WTIM.
It's the WTIM morning show. I'm your host, Tim Zalabag. Thank you all for tuning in this morning. And thanks so much to our live stream sponsors, People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where they always do better with Landmark. On the phone line, we have Valerie Belusco, Community and Economic Development Educator with the University of Illinois Extension. How are you today, Valerie?
I am doing good. How are you?
Doing super well. Thanks for being back with us this month. It looks like it's all about it's National Disaster Preparedness Month this September. A whole lot of things being highlighted this September. This is a very important one right here. How did this conversation get started here? What made you want to do this month?
So it actually all started with a conversation my husband and I had. He is an ag teacher, and he came home one day and he said, I was talking to the kids about fire extinguishers and kind of, just going over the general do's and don'ts. And they were all kind of mystified that I had fire extinguishers in my house. Oh. I said, I was like, honey, what do you mean? Why did you think that's weird? He said, a lot of these students do not have fire extinguishers in their homes. And so he found it kind of weird that class didn't have it. And so he started asking all of his classes that day just to kind of feel things out and know who has what. And it was kind of across the board. If they do have fire extinguishers at their homes, they are not aware of that, and they do not know how to use that. But many of them don't think they have fire extinguishers at their home. So this has kind of been in the back of my mind since the school year started. And with September being the National Disaster Preparedness Month, I thought this is a great time to have a topic about this because it is something that families need, businesses need, individuals when they're traveling need. We all have to prepare. We all know that our EMAs, our fire departments, our ambulance services, they're kind of all running ragged these days. Everybody's a little short-handed. So we have to think about, how can we keep ourselves as safe as possible? How can we plan for things so that, if something does happen, we're okay if somebody can't get to us for a few hours. Yes. So, this is kind of all where it started. And of course, it morphs into a larger conversation, which is interesting because the theme this year for National Disaster Preparedness Month is start a conversation. So that's what I hope to do today.
Absolutely. Well, what a great way to bring this conversation up. A little bit surprising, a little bit frightening to know that the fire extinguishers is not as prevalent as we thought they were. So that'll definitely be another topic of conversation here today. So let's start National Disaster Preparedness Month here. First thing on your mind, how can we be prepared?
Well, so number one, businesses are really, really good at preparing for this because they're always thinking about their customers, they're thinking about their bottom line, they're thinking about their staff. And so many times businesses have this covered and have it covered pretty well. That doesn't mean that maybe they're not missing something. And it also doesn't mean that maybe they are doing this stuff at home. A lot of business owners think about it at work, and then you kind of wonder, are you really prepared at home as well? Yeah. So just thinking about some of the basics, like, do you have a way to get alerts and warnings? Do you have a shelter plan? A lot of businesses always have that kind of mapped out. Everyone knows where the best place of shelter is, where to go, where to send customers and staff. Sometimes it's, do you have an evacuation route? Daycares are wonderful for evacuation routes. They have it planned. They test this yearly. They practice this. They practice it with the kiddos even, because you want to make sure that everybody is meeting up in the same location, that we all have a safe space, that, you can get your head count, those kind of things. So, that's kind of where you really want to start. But then you kind of also want to think about that as even more so as to, what is the communication plan afterwards? So how are you going to contact your family, your household, your businesses? And again, businesses are usually good about this. They usually have employees have emergency contacts. And so they can make sure that they the owner or manager can call an emergency contact for someone if something happens. But then we don't always think about that when we're out and about with friends, or if we're at home and we have guests over, or just little things like that. Maybe if we're at church or at a outing. So just thinking about, what do you need and how can you help make the situation run smoother is important. And I actually have a really good tip. If you're out and about, maybe you don't know people, or you don't know a lot of people, or of course you're not going to be giving out your, personal contact information to everyone and your emergency information to everyone. One of the things you can do is put a number in your phone for an emergency contact, and you can name it emergency contact. That makes it nice and easy. You can name it AA emergency contact so that it pops up at the very beginning of your address book in your phone. Sometimes people even label it as ICE, and I'll honestly don't remember what that stands for.
In case of emergency, if I'm right.
Oh, I bet you're right.
Sweet.
That is it. Good job.
My father had that for my mother too. That was just on her contact piece right there. Yeah, it's a great thing.
And some of us older folks, we think about those kind of things.
Yeah.
But are we making sure that our kids have that in their phone? When they're out with friends, if something happens and a friend needs to call an emergency number, maybe they're not close friends, and maybe it doesn't say mom and dad in their phone. Maybe it says mom and dad's name instead, and the friend doesn't know that. Yeah. If you have something like emergency contact or ICE in your phone that they can go to and make that call, it can save valuable time. So Absolutely. Making sure your kids have that, are aware of that, understand what that means is very important.
Yeah, putting AA at the beginning of that emergency contact. Never even thought of that, but it'll shoot it right to the top of your contact list right there, and it will not move unless you have another AA name heading to the top there. So that is all really, really great things to note there. Speaking with Valerie Belusco, Community and Economic Development Educator with the University of Illinois Extension. Doesn't surprise me too much about the whole business aspect of it all right there. Feels like once you get home, you might get a little bit more comfortable with this kind of stuff. So it's really great to be prepared.
Exactly. When you were at home, something that you might want to have is a emergency preparedness kit. Sometimes people have these where they're, in their basement or their closet, wherever their shelter in place area is. And sometimes it's a book bag, sometimes it's like a little plastic tote. But usually it has things like bottled water, maybe some kind of non-perishable food. Definitely, they usually have a flashlight with extra batteries, some kind of first aid supply, tissues or toilet paper. Sometimes, this is really creative, and this is one that I really, really love. Sometimes there'll be like colored pencils or coloring books or games or playing cards. And that can come in handy if you have little kids or if you have someone in your home who gets highly anxious during storms. Yeah. You definitely want something to help take their mind off of things, to help calm them down. And it can be very helpful to just kind of mitigate some of the extra stress that can happen during a situation like this.
Totally, and it doesn't take up too much space down in your disaster preparedness area right there, but it can really be the difference. It's kind of settling your other needs right there, other than your very basic needs. That's a great thing to note.
You're right. Now, there's a few other things that you're going to want, but these are things that you're probably not going to put in your emergency preparedness kit. If you have any medication that you are required to take, if you wear contacts or glasses, if you have a cell phone, something like that, you might want to grab a few things before you go into your shelter-in-place area. That might be things like, the medicine that you might need, especially if you're diabetic. Maybe a battery backup for your phone. You might not have had time to fully charge your phone, so definitely having a battery backup is always a great idea. Some kind of food, especially if you have a baby. Grab some formula, grab a bottle out, grab some diapers out. These are all things that you can grab very quickly. If a a siren goes off, grab them very quickly and get in your shelter in place area. But we sometimes just forget about that because we get caught up in the moment. And so we haven't had any huge storms in the area where people have been trapped, but you always want to prepare for that because it's your life that's on the line. And so you want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and your family as best as you can.
Absolutely. All of the things we were mentioning right here in terms of creating a plan and then having this type of kit. Can we find this anywhere online?
Oh, yes, definitely. One of the best places to look for kits and lists and those kind of things is actually ready.gov. And they are the federal organization that, puts on National Preparedness Month. They have resources for all different types of businesses, homeowners, individuals, anything you could think of is there.
Perfect. Ready.gov, where you can go for all the information needed on National Disaster Preparedness Month and all the things we've been talking about here with Valerie Belusco, Community and Economic Development Educator with the University of Illinois Extension. We've got to take ourselves a break here on the WTIM Morning Show, but we will be right back.
Your information station, WTIM.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn steady, beans higher, wheat trading higher. September corn up 1.5, 382. December corn 405 up 1/4. March corn unchanged 423.5. November beans up 6, 1006.5. January beans up 5 3/4, 1024 3/4. March beans 1038 3/4, up 4 3/4. December wheat up 6 1/4, 585.5. March wheat up 6, 604 1/4. October bean meal 316.50. That's up 50 cents. October bean oil up 42 cents. 40.20. Livestock market, September feeders 241.57, up $1.02. October live cattle 178.20, up $1.25. October lean hog 79.77, up 2 cents. Energy market, October crude oil is up $1.30, 68.61. And I'm Jim Taylor on the RFD Radio Network.
WTIM on its many platforms, AM, FM, and online brings you Taylorville Tornado Football, boys and girls basketball, and playoff games of all teams. Tornado Sports on WTIM and stream live on TaylorvilleDailyNews.com. Brought to you by Taylorville Memorial Hospital, CNB Bank and Trust, Dan Rizzo with American Family Insurance, and Specialized Hearing Solutions, all in Taylorville.
The purple and gold are coming your way. The Taylorville Tornadoes are going to do it today.
The Shelby County Economic Development Corporation aims to foster, promote, and stimulate economic development, from keeping existing industry and retail businesses successful and thriving to attracting new investment in Shelby County. The Shelby County Economic Development Corporation is here to help your business grow. It also sponsors job fairs to fill positions at existing employers and encourages future entrepreneurs in the Shelby County CEO program. Find out more on the Shelby County Economic Development Corporation by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
And yet another major brand just announced it's halting all social media advertising.
The two most overused and abused words in advertising are truth and trust. They are the two most precious commodities for all brands, big and small. As an advertiser, you have to trust your partners to protect your brand's truth using the media consumers trust. Radio. It's on.
Trust the Miller Media Group to deliver your message.
Sign up for People's Bank and Trust Save by Spending Roundup program, and they'll round up your purchases to the next dollar, then transfer that change to your savings account. It's as easy as shop, enjoy, and save. Get details by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Hi, this is Jeff Robinson from Advanced Title. Whether selling your home on your own or through your local realtor, please give us a call at 824-8007 for all your title work needs.
Your information station, WTIM.
And we are back here on our WTIM Morning Show with Valerie Belusco, Community and Economic Development Educator with the University of Illinois Extension. That first half, we talked all about National Preparedness Month, Natural Disaster Preparedness Month. Here we learned about how to be prepared at home, in your business, how to build those preparedness kits. But a very frightening place to get caught in these situations is in your car. But you can be prepared there as well, Valerie.
Oh, of course you can.
Perfect.
And again, I'm thinking about the conversation that I had with my husband about at the beginning of the school year about kids not knowing what to do. And one of the things I thought about is, all of the kids that we have driving on the road, I'm sure they, get lots of lectures from parents about be safe, drive safe. I always tell my kid, don't be stupid, those kind of things.
Yeah.
But we talk about things like maybe have some sand in the trunk of your car in the wintertime. And then what do you use the sand for? Idea?
Traction?
Yes,
Yeah.
great. So that used to be something that was definitely more common back in the day when all of our vehicles tended to be rear wheel. These days, with the front wheel drive, the all-wheel drive, we don't have as many problems, but that doesn't mean that we still don't have problems, especially if you live out in the country or live in a very hilly area. There are times where you might just need a little traction. And let me tell you, it's a lot easier to just have some sand in your trunk and be able to put that down in front of your tires and behind your tires to get a little traction instead of waiting on help, because that can be very frustrating. That can be very taxing on the mind. You can start to get cold, lots and lots of issues. So thinking about that and being prepared so you can help yourself is incredibly important.
Totally.
Other things I think all the kids do that these days. They all have a phone charger in their car. But I like to tell everybody to have 2 phone chargers in their car. And it seems silly, but it's because not everybody has the same phone as you. And so I like to have a phone charger for Android and one for iPhone. That way, if I have anyone with me, we can make sure both phones can be charged. That way, if storms are coming, storms are brewing, you notice that your phone's at 30%. Okay, well, while we're driving, while it's still safe and we're still driving, let's plug in our phones, get a little charge on it. That could definitely help in a situation where you need to be able to call for help later.
Absolutely. Another situation where it's better to have it and not need it than to really need it when you don't have it right there. So the same thing that goes with the sand right there. You might have a friend that asks, why do you have a bag of sand in your trunk right here? And that question is not going to mean a whole lot when you really needed it.
Exactly. Other things that you might want to have would be flares or reflective triangles. I personally like the reflective triangles. I know flares, some people just don't know how to use them, don't know where to place them, how to place them properly. So sometimes that can cause additional issues. So if you're not familiar with how to properly and safely use a flare, you might want to have a reflective triangle in your trunk that you can out. That way, if you're ever on the side of the road, it's dusk, it's dark, people can still see you. Of course, they're going to see you on the side of the road, but you want to give them a heads up, right?
Sure.
That way you can say, hey, pay attention. So you want to be able to, if you're on the interstate, walk 200 feet back, walk 300 feet back, set that triangle out. That's going to give people a little bit of a heads up to know that there's someone on the side of the road kind of broken or not moving.
Absolutely. And Valerie, we are in our last minute here. So just the final kind of preparedness, things that we need to have in our car here.
Final things, just understand, especially for kids out there, if you're driving in rain, slow down, make sure your headlights are on. If you do know that a storm is coming, bad storm, never try to outrun it. Try to get somewhere safe. Try to get indoors. That's always the best place for you. And just stay safe out there.
Absolutely. Got so much of the information we needed during National Disaster Preparedness Month. Valerie, thank you for filling us in today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Valerie Belusco, Community and Economic Development Educator with the University of Illinois Extension, right here on our WTIM Morning Show. Thanks so much to the live stream sponsors, People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark. You've been listening to WTIM, your information station.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville, 96.1 W241 CF Taylorville, 107.5 W298 CD Shelbyville, 107.9 W300 EH Payne and Nokomis.
It's been a surge in the number of foreign-born people residing